What is the P dash foundation different from a regular trust? Other than it belongs to God? A lot. Yeah. Joel, there's a lot. We're structured up as a church. So although, so I had a conversation with an attorney. It was live on a Q&A. And he knew a lot, but I stumped him. And Tracy, you were there. And he'd asked a lot of pertinent questions pertaining to piercing trust, this, that, and the other. And it was a great dialogue, but this is along that same conversation, because he was asking me how you can have the differences within a trust, and why it was pierceable or not pierceable. And here's the nut of it. There's a thing called public and private. And so when you're looking at most trusts that are out there, they're structured up for one formation. They make no honor to God. There's no church implication. They're not a private membership association. What we're creating is, in fact, a church. So if you were to look at the IRS code, if you go to store.hisadvocates.org, you can read all the code that's underneath the foundation in support of it. Now, the element of having a church under God, it's kind of funny how man has to honor what belongs to God here on this earth. It's just, it's crazy. When I figured this out, I'm like, I'm so excited to come out. I was so excited because I don't think anybody's ever heard me say this. When you realize public and private, it's like you start running for the private. Because man's law in its entirety in this nation is written to protect what belongs to God, literally. So when you look at the IRS code, let's gauge structures that cannot be pierced by the IRS or by a company trying to sue you. The foundation structure would probably be a level 5 Kevlar out of 5. Meaning you could take a 45 hollow point to the chest and you're gonna be fine. It'll sting, but you'll be fine. And the reason is it's listed in their code, it's under Supreme Court rulings, and it's unregistered. So it's a church, and although it has implications of a trust model, it's a church that belongs to God as the grantor, Yeshua as the guiding arm, and Jesus as the beneficiary, and you're the trustee of the trust. But it's not technically a trust. So we got into this debate model of being pierceable under trust law, and I basically helped him understand what's going on in court. And number one, it's a very simple question. How are you going to serve me? He said, what do you mean? I said, how are you going to serve me? So what are you talking about? He said, you're saying you could bring this into court and pierce it. I'm asking you, how are you going to serve me? And it went from a debate to shut up. Like he was done. I closed it, because when you're private, there's no registered process serving agent listed with the Secretary of State, period. We're not putting an address on the bank accounts. We're not putting addresses anywhere out there on a website or what have you for anybody to come and serve anything. And even if they did serve, there is no lawful service because there is no registration of an agent for service. Hence, you can't bring this into court. You can't pierce this. And so it became an element of getting to that clarity of public versus private. Now, there are private trusts out there, and they probably, and I've told people this, and they've asked me, do I need to buy one of your foundations? And I said, what are you holding in it? You know, like, what is it like a couple cars, you know, this, that. And I'm like, is it registered or is it unregistered? And they said, it's unregistered. And I said, keep it. And the reason is because, but here was their issue, is everything they do is out of their house. All their business is out of their house, their address, their mailing, everything is out of their house. So we still had to help these people from a structural standpoint to be private and take care of some loose ends, but they didn't have to purchase another private foundation for that particular need or service. But there's a lot of a difference of, because there's different types of trusts, there's different types of foundations. There's, you know, we do a self-supporting church ministry, we do gun trusts, we do foundations. We're actually starting to branch off into the trust world, but from a private side where we don't make acknowledgement of anything as a registered, and here's the critical component, when you make a registered organization, meaning the birth certificate, a beneficiary. So if you're making the birth certificate a beneficiary, you're allowing for potentially that trust to be questioned in court. And there's also different trust structures, that meaning if they can come in and serve, like if they had a copy of your articles, meaning your charter, how would they get a copy of your charter? The bank. So if you're getting sued by somebody and they are making a claim on your charter that you're structured up X, Y, and Z, you know your bank's in on it. Because that's the only one you got to show anything to. You don't have to show a trust model or a foundation account to anybody, or a charter to anybody. You don't have to relinquish the information other than to a bank to open up an account. And we're actually working on private banking stuff that would allow for you to, you know, like we can have accounts with Charles Schwab to trade stocks. We can have accounts with, you know, any number of crypto exchanges to trade cryptocurrencies, bank accounts to open up banks, all private, all unregistered. We have one guy out of thousands of members having an issue with opening up an account. And he happens to be on this, he's on every one of our shows because he's from China and he lives in China, and he's trying to establish something here in the States or abroad as a business that's outside of his country to conduct business. But he has a Chinese passport and he's limited on relationships and things that he can do. So there's different types of things. We're giving you a church. And in doing that, you're wearing the most protected level of vestment, Kevlar, that you can possibly wear in the world. And I've never seen one served. I've never seen one audited. I've never seen one where they've had issues in court, not one. And I've done thousands. So, 2 cents.